Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Danielle and I am the owner of Damn Fancy Creations. If you're new to my channel, I also want to point out that I have two other tutorial groups. I have a tutorial group on Facebook and I have a more personalized patron group where I offer exclusive content, group challenges, all sorts of fun things like that. Both of those groups will be linked in the description if you guys want to check those out. Before we get started on our tutorial today, I do want to give a huge shout out to one of my patrons. Her name is Brittany, and this tutorial is actually based off of one of her tips. I am going to link her TikTok and her Facebook information in the description below, so you guys please go check out her pages and show her some love. For today's tutorial, we are going to be doing the tangram, tribal, western, whatever you want to call it. It is just tons of different little shapes that are glittered different colors. And I have avoided doing this tutorial or this tumbler really forever. As soon as I saw it, I thought it was so pretty, but I did not want to do it. I absolutely hate Mod Podge. If you guys know me or watch my tutorials, the only time I use Mod Podge is when I absolutely have to, which is typically just my geode designs. So when I saw that tumbler, I thought that it was super pretty, but I knew I would dread doing one if an order came in. So I just let other people do them because I really like looking at them. I just did not want to make them. Well, after talking to Brittany, she has come up with this amazing hack that saves so much time. There is no Mod Podge involved. You are not glittering each individual little rhombus or shape that is on the tumbler. It is super easy to do, and I knocked out two of these super quickly. Even with doing a trial and error on the first one that I did, it was still so much easier and much less time involved instead of just glittering every little shape. So if you guys are ready to see how I do this fun hack for this tumbler, let's get started. Okay guys, so before we get started on actually glittering the tumbler, I am going to show you guys how I load this SVG into Illustrator and separate all the little lines so we have individual shapes so that we can color them and kind of plan out our color design. So what I did is basically ungroup all of the little pieces in the SVG, and then I made my lines a little bit thicker. And now I need to get the shapes separate. So I am going to come over to the Pathfinder section and I am going to hit divide. And then I am going to hit ungroup. So now all of my little pieces are separate. They're all individual pieces. So you can go in, select each piece, and make it a different color. This is just an easy way of how you can map out your design so that you're not guessing where you want colors. You can go ahead, plan it out. It's all on your computer. Now this is an Illustrator and this is an SVG, I believe, that I used. Your program may be a little bit different if you're using Cricut Design Space or Silhouette Studio. You may just have to play with it a little bit to see what works best for you. But I'm just kind of showing you guys that I can select different shapes and change their colors. So you can have fun with it, make it, you know, colors that suit you. You can change the design, the layout, anything you want. So after I got done coloring everything, this is what my finished template is going to look like. And I actually printed this out, so I have it handy. So you guys can still see that all of these little pieces are still separate, but I actually want to weld those pieces together so they're not cut lines through the glitter. So you guys can see that this piece is one solid piece, so that when I cut out my vinyl, it's going to be one piece. And I'm going to show you guys kind of how I did that as well. This step is something you don't have to do, but it does save you from touching up little spots where glitter may be sparse, where two pieces are kind of joined together. So here is the unedited version that I loaded into Silhouette. So you guys can see that all of these little pieces are still separate, but I want to take them and weld them together so that it's one piece. And sometimes, because of how the little shapes are laid out, you may have to adjust them a little bit so that you don't have cut lines going through the vinyl. I just kind of made each shape slightly longer or slightly taller. That way they overlap, and when you select to weld them together, the pieces all weld together and it's all one piece. So you guys can see that this is a full welded piece that is going to be cut out when I go to cut out my vinyl. And I will show you guys how I do a couple more of these, just because I know that a lot of people are visual learners and like to see stuff done. So for this one, for example, I am just selecting all of the individual pieces and selecting to weld it, but you guys can see that there are still cut lines going through it. That may just be because the pieces weren't joined as well as they should have been. So I am just going to take some of these pieces and just make them slightly larger, because since it's going to be welded together anyway, making the piece larger is not going to affect the shape of the overall piece, if that makes sense. I just need it overlapped so I can select them all and weld them. And you may still have little pieces right there that are kind of frustrating, but what you can do is go up and select the point tool and just click on those points that are kind of stray and just delete them. So once those stray points are deleted, you have one solid piece that will cut out just fine. And then if you really want to get fancy with it, you can actually go and make a copy of all of the edge pieces and mirror them, and then weld those pieces together so that even on the back side of the tumbler, you are going to have solid shapes. They will not be pieced together. And then you can just go and delete this other piece. But I will also show you guys that sometimes this happened, and I don't know if it was just this file or if this is how all of them are, but I am just showing you what happened with my design. So in case you run into issues like this, then you can fix them. So this piece, you know, there are little stray pieces, I think, just where pieces overlapped when I traced it, but I am just going back to the edit the little edit point tool, and you can edit the points right there. You can delete points that you need. You can manipulate them to kind of bring them up to the shape that you need it to be. And this only happened on a couple of little pieces that I had. It was not every piece, so you should not be having to worry about that. I think it was just how I traced the SVG in Illustrator just caused a couple little pieces to kind of act funny. But so you can, if you want to go and mirror all the side pieces, you can definitely do that. I did not choose to do that. I just welded the larger pieces that you can see that there are no cut lines through them now. So they're going to be one solid piece. But again, this colored template is just going to be for your reference. The vinyl that we cut is going to be a solid color. I just like to color this, print it out so I have it handy, so I'm not, you know, guessing where pieces are going to go or things like that. I also like welding the shapes together because, for example, if you just need one specific shape for a tumbler that you're doing, you can just take this one shape, cut it out of your vinyl that you need, and apply it to your tumbler instead of cutting the whole sheet out again. So now comes the fun part, guys. This is the hack method where we are not going to be glittering each individual square. What we are going to be doing is glittering full sheets of vinyl. So glittering a full sheet of vinyl is so much easier than glittering each little rhombus one by one. So what I'm going to do is take Tack It. If you guys have not used Tack It, it is a type of, I don't want to say adhesive because it's not really going to hold things on, but it is in a way an adhesive, but it stays tacky. I actually use Tack It to re-tack my vinyl cutting mats because it stays tacky. So a lot of you guys have probably seen people use Tack It on tumblers. It just gives it a very, very smooth look. So I am taking vinyl sheets that are going to match the color glitter that I am using. I originally tried to do this on white vinyl and I just really did not like the look of some of my glitter on top of the white vinyl, so I redid it and I used matching vinyl, which is what I should have done to begin with. And I am just using a foam brush and I am just spreading this Tack It out. You don't want it too thin, but you don't want it really thick either because then it won't dry quickly. I am just getting a nice layer of the Tack It on my vinyl and just kind of smoothing it out, making sure that the entire vinyl piece is covered because we don't want any bare spots that is not glittered. And for my tumbler, I'm going to be using 5 different glitter colors. So I am applying Tack It to 5 different sheets of vinyl. And they don't have to be exact either. I mean, I just picked a purple vinyl for the purple color glitter I was using. I picked orange glitter for the orange vinyl for the orange glitter and for the gold glitter that I am using. So it doesn't have to be exact, but at least if there are any little bare spots, it's not going to be white shining through. It's going to be a vinyl that matches the glitter. And when tacket is dry, it is clear. So if your tacket is still white, then you know it is too soon to apply the glitter. I have heard several people run into the issue where they start to apply the glitter and it just kind of rubs right off, and I do think that is because the tacket is not 100% dry. I will typically hit my tacket, whether it's on a tumbler or vinyl, with my hair dryer or a heat gun on low for a few minutes, just to make sure that everything is good and dry. So tacket will typically dry in about 15-20 minutes, unless some areas are kind of thick, which some areas on this vinyl were a little bit thicker than I would have liked. So I did wait a little bit longer, and I also hit it with my hair dryer just to speed up the drying process. But once our tacket is dry, you guys can see that there are no white spots on here. We are just going to sprinkle our glitter all over the vinyl, and I just kind of shake it to cover the vinyl, and we are just going to rub this glitter into the vinyl. And this can get messy, so I just put a sheet of packing paper down and a sheet of regular printer paper and you can see it still gets everywhere. So even after I have dusted off the glitter, I will go back and just rub it in to the tacket really good, and then brush off all of the excess. And then we just basically made our own glitter vinyl. So we are going to do this to every sheet that we have. Just pick your glitter colors, spread it all over the vinyl, and then rub the glitter into the tacket. And yes, you could definitely just use vinyl or glitter vinyl if that's what you wanted to do. But when you actually glitter the vinyl yourself, it looks just like real glitter would on your tumbler. So it gives the look of, you know, that you actually spent hours Mod Podging and glittering all of these individual squares, but you did not. You just glittered a full sheet. And I'm not sure if you guys can tell or not, but some of my glitter was, you know, micro fine glitter 0.04. Some of it was extra fine, I believe 0.008. And then this gold is actually just regular fine glitter, the 0.15 size. So you guys can use different sizes. I would not recommend a chunky glitter because this is going to be fed through your cutting machine, and I feel like your blade would get chewed up if you used chunky glitter. So again, we are just burnishing that glitter into the tacket. We want to get it as smooth as possible and get as much loose glitter off of the vinyl sheet as possible. Because the thinner that the glitter is, the easier your machine is going to be able to cut out our tribal design, or whatever you want to call this. It's not really a tangram, it's tangram, tribal, western, SVG. And once we get all of our vinyl sheets glittered, we are going to take them outside and spray them really good with Rust-Oleum Clear 2 times. And the sealing part is extremely important because you want to make sure that the glitter is attached very well to the vinyl so that when we cut out the SVG onto these glitter sheets, the glitter is not going to move. So once our vinyl sheet is 100% sealed and dry, we are going to cut out our tangram design on every sheet of glittered vinyl and white vinyl or black vinyl, whatever you want to use as your template. So this white vinyl is the original SVG that I edited and welded those pieces together. And I should have spent a little bit more time lining this up, but I was just too excited to get it on there that I really did not take as much time as I should have, so it did wrinkle a little bit and caused my design to be off slightly. But since we are basically removing these pieces and replacing them with other pieces, I did match it up pretty well. So again, this is just the original template cut out with regular vinyl. And you guys can use removable vinyl if you have it. I do not. I just use whatever vinyl I have on hand that I have a surplus of. So next, what we are going to do is just weed the edges of our design. The larger part of glittered vinyl I did save just in case I needed to cut out some extra pieces. So I am basically just going to remove a piece and then replace it with the color that matches the template. So next I am removing all of the triangles going down and all of the triangles going up and replacing that with the purple glittered vinyl because that is what my design shows. And I'm sorry that my bun is in the way. So after I do one color, I am going to move on to the next color. I did work like each color next to each other just so my design did not get off. So I know that the piece above the purple triangle is my orange. And then I peeled up all of the pieces that were orange on my design. And I added the orange glitter vinyl pieces. So this is so much easier than just Mod Podging and glittering. I also really like this way because those lines are going to be extremely crisp. It is just like a sheet of vinyl. Where, you know, sometimes if we do Mod Podge, then the lines are not going to be as square. This way they are extremely square and very sharp. So this is the side that was a little bit off. I did have to go back and edit it a little bit, but you know, it's pretty forgiving. And since these pieces you can remove and reposition, it makes it pretty easy to fix mistakes. Whereas if you Mod Podged and glittered and it was off slightly, then you couldn't really fix that as easily anyway. This blue sheet of glitter vinyl was in pieces because I didn't realize that my Cameo had reset to the default settings and it cut 2 passes and I just wanted it to cut 1. I will tell you guys, when I cut mine, I used the glittered cardstock option, but I only did 1 pass. So I believe it was maybe blade 6 and then force 24, I want to say. I did play with it a little bit to see what worked best for my machine and my vinyl. I did glitter a few vinyl sheets separately, sealed them, not even full sheets, it was just, you know, a 2-inch square, and cut out a few different pieces on different settings because your machine may cut differently than mine. So I would definitely recommend testing out the force of your machine before you cut out an entire sheet. So that way you know what setting to cut on. I also like cutting all of these little pieces out because I have tons of them left over. So I have already done 2 tumblers with the sheets that I cut and still have a ton left. So I am just peeling up 1 piece of vinyl and laying down a piece of the glittered vinyl. It is so easy, guys. And if you don't have these awesome little tools from Counterculture, you definitely need them. I use these little tweezers for everything now. They really help with picking up vinyl, or when I do peekaboos, they are really good at getting underneath that vinyl to remove it. They're very sharp and very thin. I really like them. So this gold glittered sheet that I have right now, this was already used for another cup, and you guys can see how much I have left. And you can also edit the colors of your design. So if you have a lot of gold left over from a project or from a tumbler and not a lot of pink left over, then you can switch your colors, and for the next cup you can use more gold and less pink, or however you want to do it. You can even add more than 5 colors if you want to. And sometimes I would have to stop and look at my design and just to make sure that I was placing the correct glittered vinyl where it was supposed to go. Another good reason to do it this way versus the Mod Podge way is you're not going to be pouring glitter on top of other colors. You know, a lot of times when we use Mod Podge, sometimes that area will stay a little sticky. So when you pour your next glitter, some of that glitter may contaminate the other squares that you are trying to keep free from other glitters, and then you may have to go back and touch them up later. Yeah, and I just really just hate Mod Podge. I just don't like it. I'm so glad that Brittany thought of this way to do these tumblers, because it really was just such an easy way to do it. You're not fooling with Mod Podge or paintbrushes or trying to keep your squares, you know, free from other glitter. This way you are literally just applying stickers to your cup is basically all it is. So if you guys have the gist of doing this part of the tutorial, you can definitely skip ahead a little bit. But like I said earlier, I know that several of you guys have pointed out how you like how I show everything all the way through, because y'all are visual learners and like to see how things are done. So I am just going to let this play, and you can watch how I do the rest of this tumbler. So we are almost done with this part of the tutorial. Even though it does take a little bit of time to do, it doesn't feel quite as long. It is definitely quicker than Mod Podging every single little shape. And I just really like the sharp look of just the basically glittered stickers. And once you are done with this part, you can spray seal it if that would make you feel more comfortable. The glittered sheets are already going to be spray sealed, but just in case you feel like maybe the edges aren't quite as sealed as you would like, you can definitely grab some Rust-Oleum 2 times and seal the entire tumbler one really good time. And then you're going to pop it on your turner for, I did 2 layers of epoxy, I believe. I also glittered the bottom just gold. The longest section on the bottom of my turner ended up being gold, so I just did it gold so it would match. I thought about doing another little tribal design like this, but decided not to. So I may in the future, but for this one I just left it gold glittered. And when I got to the very back of my design, I did kind of piece some pieces together, made them a little bit longer because I did just have a slight space. Again, I think that was just because I was in a rush to apply the template to my tumbler. So these are the last few pieces. And once it was all together, I was so excited about how it turned out. I really liked these colors together. I love fall colors. I like the jewel toned fall colors, which is why I picked these. And I think they looked so pretty together. So that is it, and then it's going on the turner. So this is what it looks like after a couple layers of epoxy. And I originally cut out these holographic rose gold strips. I ended up not liking them as much as I wanted to, so I did peel them all off, and I just used the nail tape. So my finished pictures are with the nail tape outline and not this vinyl. I I made it 0.075 thickness, I believe, which is what I typically make my fine lines for different tumblers. But for this one, I really wanted them to be a lot thinner. So I just decided to peel them all off and redo it. But I applied it in the exact same way that I did this cup. I just wrapped the vinyl around the tumbler first, and then I went back and applied the vinyl going down the tumbler. So that way, you know, all of the top lines are going to be overlapping the lines that wrap around the tumbler, if that makes sense. I also decided to do the nail tape versus the vinyl because it is much, much thinner, and you do not see any of the areas where the nail tape overlapped each other, whereas with this particular vinyl you could. I think it was just the holographic nature of it. It just really showed those flaws like we know that holographic vinyl does. If you used a solid color vinyl or black vinyl, you probably would not be able to see the overlapping lines, but with the holographic vinyl you can. So again, I just removed it all and opted for the nail tape that I had on hand. But I'm still showing you guys how I did this because it was applied exactly the same way. It was just a thinner material. I also like the fact that with the nail tape, you are not having to cut out lines that perfectly match your tumbler. You can just wrap around and then cut. And you guys can see that where I have solid pieces of glitter, I do not overlap the vinyl. I want those pieces to stay solid glitter and not have vinyl running through it, if that makes sense. So now that we have all of the vinyl wrapped around the tumbler, it is now time to apply the vinyl going down or diagonally down the tumbler. So we are just going to take the vinyl or nail tape, whatever you decide to use, and we are going to apply it going down, but making sure not to overlap any of those solid sections of glitter that we have. And when it comes to matching up the vinyl ends or the nail tape ends, I just cut it with my scissors or my blade. And if I needed to clean up the edges, I did that after I was done with everything. So I would just match up the ends as best I could, but I really just cleaned it up after the fact. If you would rather do it as you're laying it, you can definitely do that as well. Some of them that were a little bit longer, I did try to clean up. But I will point out that if you decide to use nail tape, you are not going to have as much cleanup as you do with the vinyl, because it is thinner and it's much easier to overlap, in my opinion. So we are just going to do this for the entire tumbler. And once you get done with applying your vinyl or your nail tape, I do recommend sealing it. You can use Rust-Oleum 2 times. I have found that sometimes that reacts with some vinyl that I use. So if I do seal my vinyl, I typically use Quick Coat by Counterculture. It is a liquid sealer. I will just put my tumbler on my turner and then do a thin layer of the Quick Coat, and then as soon as that is dry, I just keep my turner on and apply my epoxy. But the Quick Coat will hold the lines in place, and it will help the vinyl or nail tape from lifting when you apply the epoxy, because that is the most annoying thing, I think, when it comes to certain types of vinyl. You can get it on there, it will look super pretty, and then it lifts and ruins your cup, or you have to sand it down and reapply it. I hate it when that happens. So I would definitely suggest to seal the vinyl, nail tape, whatever you're going to be using, because this tumbler is a lot of work and you don't want it to get ruined by lifted vinyl. So we are almost done, you guys. So basically, after you get your vinyl on, you're pretty much done. All you need to do is seal and epoxy, and then your tumbler will be complete. What I did was apply one layer of epoxy, and then I did go back and Dremel the top edges or sand the top edges again, just to make sure everything was super smooth, and then put my final layer on. And don't forget to glitter your bottoms as well. I just applied my gold glitter to the bottom of mine when I added the first layer of epoxy. If you would rather Mod Podge it, because you have to have some Mod Podge in there, then you can definitely do that. But that is pretty much it for this tumbler. I am super, super thankful for Brittany for sharing this tip with me. I never thought that I was going to do one of these tumblers until she mentioned it. And then she gave me the okay to do a tutorial on it. And of course, I am going to give her a shout out. So if you guys don't follow her on TikTok or her Facebook, please go do that because she has awesome tips. So here are some finished pictures. You guys can see how my little pinstripes are a lot thinner because I used the nail striping. But I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you guys attempt to do one of these if you have been scared to try one in the past. And make sure you post in my tutorial group of what you come up with because I definitely want to see. If you guys enjoyed this tutorial or learned something new, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to catch the next video coming up that was picked just for you. As always, if you're looking for more tips, tricks, or tutorials, check out my tutorial group on Facebook or my Patreon group. Both are linked in the description. Thanks for watching.